Okay, so we're now moving on to editing line features in ArcGIS.com. And again, there are limits to what can be done in ArcGIS.com in terms of editing. One of the things that we can kind of do in most GIS environments, line features, polygon features, exist as essentially lines between vertices and nodes. And in virtually every environment, you should be able to add, remove, and move vertices. In the case of ArcGIS.com, you can see the vertices and you can move them, but you can in fact delete them. Adding them is a different story. And so that is one of the limitations. The other thing we're going to find is that generally speaking, while it is true that you can do a free form line, in other words, a kind of bendy line, in general, we're going to add lines using a single vertex mode. We can certainly delete lines. Splitting, not something that we can do in Arc online. So in this case, what we would be doing is actually adding a line to do that. That really is the only way. So what we're going to be doing in this is I'm going to be talking a little bit about how to do this. We're going to see that the Allegheny, Ohio, Monongahela intersection at Point Park is really poorly digitized in the data that you've added. So we're going to modify that. We're going to then add the Monongahela River, and then we're going to digitize in a small stream. We're not going to be able to do the splitting in this environment, but understand that that's an important concept and one that you should learn in any one of the environments. Okay, so we're back in our ArcGIS.com environment, and what I've done is I've turned off the colleges and the hospitals. I've also turned off the counties for right now, and I've added rivers. And again, if you haven't done that, please upload the rivers file. Make sure that you keep it in its form, and you should have your streams as a kind of an empty file right now. So I'm going to zoom in to the area that we're interested in, that is in Pittsburgh. And we're going to kind of look at our stream system and we're going to modify it. So the first thing we have here I'm going to be looking at is right here. And so if we click on this river, you'll notice that it calls it the Ohio all the way through its course. And the other thing that I want you to notice is how poorly it's digitized through this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the PA counties just for a moment so that we can see this boundary. And what I'm interested in is I want to modify this stream as it flows here. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. And I'm going to see that, yeah, this is just really poorly digitized. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go into our edit mode, and we're interested in our rivers. Okay, and so again, we're going to select our river, and then what we're going to do is move up a little bit on it and click again, double click. If I can get it to do it. There we are. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this out. I don't want to really see that. And you'll notice here are my vertices. And so this is kind of the limitation in Arc Online. Is the best that I can do is take the vertices that I have and I can move them. And again, unfortunately, that doesn't give me a whole lot of options, but I can move this a little bit and I can make this look better. Now you'll notice that I keep getting vertices, and that's just a way that they kind of keep feeding in, and eventually I will run out of them. But for right now, I'm doing okay. And again, I'm going to kind of move myself here. And so again, I've got, definitely don't want to do that. And that's one of the limitations. I can unfortunately move the entire thing. So again, I got to grab a vertex and kind of stretch it along. And you'll notice another one appears in between here. So it's adding them as I go, but I don't get to pick where they go or how many. And so it's kind of a limitation in terms of vertices. But now what I've done is, and if I zoom out, you'll see that my stream channel is significantly better through that. And so that's, in a sense, how we add vertices and reform. The next thing I want to do, so now I can just click out of it, and now we've got all those vertices are gone. The next piece, though, that I want to do in my rivers is I want to add, and I'm going to kind of move this around, I want you to add the Monongahela section, and that's this part right here. Now remember that in rivers, a new feature, so again, this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to scroll down, we're in new feature, and if I use the control key, again, I'm going to get close to this, and I'm going to click the control key, and that means that I'm going to start there, and then I'm going to move a little bit and click again, and that would allow me, and I'm going to double click on this and I'll get rid of this one in a minute. But what I want to do then is delete in, or zoom in, and so what I want to be able to do is take and move and produce the Monongahela River from this point all the way down. And so I'm going to kind of get my zoom level right so I can see where I need to go. And then we'll get started here. So again, in my rivers, new feature, and I'm going to start here, right about there. Going to hold down my control key, and you'll see there's my connection point. And now I'm going to let go of that, and I'm going to click, 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 click. And again, I'm going to keep clicking along, and that will allow me to add a feature. And again, I'm going to do this relatively quickly. I'd like you to take a little bit more time with it to get as good a feature as you can. Now, one of the other points that I want to make is that when we do this, again, I'm going to hold down the control key, and you'll notice that, again, I can double click here, and that ends my feature. And so I would call this Monongahela and hit close. So now I've got a new line added to that feature class. And that's fine. That's, again, one approach to this. The other one that I want you to do, so now I've added a feature to an existing one. We've modified some vertices to clean up a line. The next thing, though, that we want to do is I'm going to create a new stream here. And where I'm going to create that is, this is 9 Mile Creek, and 9 Mile Creek is right after this big bend. And so what we're going to do is we're going to zoom in, and here is 9 Mile Creek. And what I'd like you to do is to try to create this one. And what we're going to be using is one of the limitations of this software, and that is what we call a freehand line. And again, the problem with the freehand line is that what we would ideally like it to do is connect to this. But you notice the freehand line does not have a snapping option to it. You'll notice when I use the straight line, it does. And so you have to kind of decide whether you want these to really connect or not. And so in this case, what I'm going to start with is, again, I'm going to use control. Now I've connected to it. I click once, and then I'm going to click again. And I'm going to follow this along. Now you can try this again with the freehand tool, and what you're going to find is that the freehand tool is a much smoother line, but it doesn't allow you to have any snapping tolerance. So now I've created 9 Mile Creek, and I'm going to close that, and so there is my line feature. Now remember, once I've done that, what we're going to do is get out of our editing mode and go into our details. And what I would then want to do with my streams is save the layer. That way we have a layer file that can in fact be exported as a shapefile or into a feature class. Okay, that's it for editing lines in ArcGIS.com. We'll be back with